Hello everyone, this video is brought to you from donation by AJ. Hi Ollie, I think your channel is great because it helps people who have grown up like we did feel less alone. I think that your professional background in loss prevention that you talked about has given you the skills to pick out and call out narcissistic BS in a really succinct and often entertaining way. I definitely can relate to your dark sense of humor. I think this is probably a common trait amongst people who have grown up in abusive homes and made it out of them. So my sense of humor is dark. I remember feeling so isolated as a kid and so confused as to how and why I got stuck with such a sucky family situation. I would see other kids out with their parents and wish so hard I could have a nice normal family and not the mean, crazy mother and absentee father that I had. That drives you nuts into adulthood. The why? Just is. One of my earliest memories of my mother is her throwing me against my bedroom wall when I was about 3 or 4. I had arranged the furniture and some toys in my room, and she went full freak out, screaming in my face and tossing me against the wall. I suppressed that memory until I was about 27 and had an accident where I got dehydrated and fainted, falling straight back and hitting the back of my head on the concrete. You know, the room thing, the furniture thing, that's a thing kids like to do. They like to move furniture around their room. You know, it's something Drunky the Fuck Clown never let me do either. Pretty much the same reaction to any type of moving of anything in my own bedroom. I had a mild concussion and a skull fracture and lost my sense of smell from the impact of hitting the back of my head. As I was recovering from that, the memory of my mom throwing me against the wall in my bedroom came back to me. Suddenly, I was able to understand why, as a kid in school, when the other kids would say, "I smell popcorn," or "it smells like this or that," I rarely could agree with them smell anything. It also explained why, as a kid, I was always jonesing for salt and sauces, ketchup, mustard, salad dressing, anything I could get my hands on. I think when my mom tossed me against the wall when I was 3 or 4, the impact of the back of my skull hitting the wall, not some of my sense of smell. The loss of smell also impacts taste, which is why I was such a condiment fiend. I still am actually. Anyway, early memory of dear old mom is being dragged around ages 4 to 5 to her bullshit therapy sessions with her totally bullshit therapist, who was a licensed doctor, mind you, but treated her for 20 plus years with no progress. What the fuck? Exactly. What the fuck? If you're seeing the same fucking therapist for 20 years, there's a problem. There's a problem. You should be able to turn around and sue that therapist for, like, how come I'm not getting any better? 20 years. 20 years. You know, a therapist-patient relationship that lasts for 20 years like that is another narcissistic enabling situation where there's probably two narcissists feeding each other's supply back and forth for 20 years. Good old Dr. Bean. I think he's probably dead now, but he should have been in fucking jail. I'm sure he was just milking the state insurance system because, of course, my mom never got better or changed in any way for the positive. Just got worse. You know how it goes with narcs. I'm sure she wasn't the only patient on his Medi-Cal payroll for years with no progress, only enabling and fanning the flames of their BS while happily billing for his time. I can remember going to those sessions so well because they were all about how much I, again, ages 4 to 5, sucked so badly. How everything was my fault, my behavior was what made my otherwise wonderful child abusing mother so unhappy. So we would go to Dr. Bean's office, and I would have to sit there with the two of them, while my mom complained about what a terrible child I was in front of me. I mean, seriously, what the hell kind of therapist is that? Disgraceful. Yeah, that is disgraceful. That is disgraceful. You know, same thing happened to me, you know, and to a lot of us. A young age, everything's your fault. You're treated like you're held to an account like you're an adult. You're not allowed to be a kid. And, you know, I didn't get dragged to therapy and blamed until I was 17. Because when I was 17, I was dragged into my parents' marriage counselor and told I was the reason for all their problems. And I've talked about that in another video. Meanwhile, well, according to my mother, I was the cause for all their problems. The therapist just kind of sat there and didn't say anything. He wasn't even, I don't even know what the hell this guy was. His name was Sam. He wasn't even a doctor. I don't even know what he was. But it's the same playbook. Same tact, same playbook. Narcissist therapist, narcissist going to therapy, blaming a child, an early age child for all their problems in life. I mean, how many times have we heard this story? One session, I was probably 4 or so. I was actually defending myself and on a roll, making coherent points, and just as I was getting to the ultimate crux of what I was saying, boom, my mom was out of her chair across the room, slapping me across the face in front of this motherfucker who did absolutely nothing about it. Didn't even stand up out of his chair. Just sat there like he was watching TV. Exactly. Because when you're about to corner the narcissist and they got no way out, that's when you're going to be at their worst. That's when they're going to snap out violently or say the craziest shit they possibly can, because they're a cornered animal at that point. They're a cornered animal. Same thing happened to me when Drunky the Fuck Clown, when my adult life, when I brought them into therapy, came across the therapist's office and went to go hit me, and then stood over me and said, "You see, I can still make you flinch." It's a power move. It's a power move out of desperation. And where's the therapist? He lets a 4-year-old get hit in the face and he doesn't call the police immediately? Because that's what my therapist said she was going to do. I'm like, well, what would you have done if she actually hit me? She's like, I would have called the cops immediately and had her arrested. And I was 30 years old at the time. Looking back, the one good thing that came out of that incident was that I think it was after that my mom stopped making me go with her to those BS sections. Probably because Dr. Bean told her she couldn't keep bringing me because he didn't want to put himself in the position of seeing her physically abuse me. Bilking the state insurance system via perpetual patients who never improve is one thing, but witnessing child abuse as a licensed doctor and doing nothing about it must be legit criminal. That's not why. That's not why your mother didn't bring you back. You already said the answer why your mother didn't bring you back. Because at 4 years old, you're saying you're making coherent statements to her, defending herself in front of a witness. To the point where, in order to shut you down, she had to run across the room and slap you in the face. I'm telling you, if the doctor didn't do anything immediately there, he wasn't gonna stop taking the insurance money. Your mother shut it down because that therapist was tainted with you and her as far as she was concerned, and she wasn't going to have whatever you were going to say come out of your mouth. You go back to finish your statement to him. Because narcissists protect the lie. They protect the lie. That's how you know this isn't some kind of chemical imbalance in their head. Because they know what the lie is and they know how to defend it. They know what their objective is and they know how to defend it, through whether it be through gaslighting, verbal abuse, physical abuse, however it is. All the tactics are to do one thing: gain control or protect their lie. It wasn't the doctor, it was her, because she realized she wasn't going to be able to steamroll you in there. Life with my mother was just a constant nightmare. Once I got into elementary school, she, of course, jumped right into the PTA. I remember her telling me about one meeting where she told one of the other mothers, "Don't interrupt me, I have the floor." At the fucking PTA. Seriously. Typical narc. Any chance for attention and control, and woe be to anyone who attempts to express any opinion contrary to theirs. At the end of first grade, my mom asked me if I wanted to be in the gifted and talented program that started in second grade at my school. I said no, and my mother claimed that she would not push me and would not go along and would go along with my decision. Ha. She spent all of my second grade year hating on my teacher and in some protracted dispute with the school principal. She'd had my IQ tested when I was 3, so that I was her main ammunition for why I needed to be placed in the gifted program for third grade. She didn't work, so she had absolutely nothing else to do with her weekdays other than harass the principal of my elementary school until she got what she wanted. Of course, my mother had my IQ tested when I was 3 because she knew herself to be a genius, and my father as well. She told me that while I was smart, I would certainly never be as smart as her or my father. We never are we? Both of whom were college dropouts, by the way, but whatever. I guess they were just like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, except without all the successful business part of the college dropout story. When I was in 5th grade over Christmas break, my mother went completely over the top freak out mode. My father had come over to take me to get a Christmas tree. Out of nowhere, of course, now I could see that she planned the whole thing. My mom started freaking out and screaming and yelling and telling me and my father that she hated us both, and she was sick of raising me and she was leaving. She got out a suitcase and packed the whole nine. My dad was just sitting in the living room like, what can I do? She's crazy. So my mom left and it was just me and my dad. My dad did not have the kind of job where he could be a primary caregiver to a child. He made book, took sports bets. So he was basically a criminal. So believe it or not, the holiday season is actually a busy time for bookies. So I spent my Christmas break home alone, and my dad would come to take me out to dinner at night. He slept over a few nights, and some others I was by myself. Perhaps not surprising thing, at least to anyone who grew up with narc parents, is that after a day or so, I actually started to enjoy myself. I was a little lonely, but what else was new, right? But at least I didn't have anyone yelling at me or telling me how terrible I was, and that everything was my fault, and that I would never go anywhere or do anything, and I was worthless and mentally ill, and no one loved me or cared whether I lived or died. This was a common diatribe I heard from my mother constantly. And we all understand that. That's why so many of us are introverts, because we picked it up as children. Because it was better be alone. And yeah, being alone can be lonely, but at least you're not being abused. At least you're not being hit, kicked, called names, whatever. I liked being alone. So it was nice to have a break from all that. Plus I was getting dinner out with Dad every night. Things could have been far worse. My mother was a terrible housekeeper. Shocker, right? And in particular, I remember she would never clean the stovetop. There would be like 3 inches of crud on there. Oh, it's such a pet peeve of mine. One of those old school white Westinghouse stoves with all the different pieces. So there I was, trapped inside during the day. Nothing to do but listen to the radio and clean house. I remember it took 4 or 5 hours to clean that stove. 10 years old, by myself, home alone. Merry Christmas. Maybe about a week or so into it, my mom's friend called and said my mom was staying at her house and asked me did I want the friend's husband to come pick me up and drive me over to their house so I could see my mom. I told my mom's friend, no, that's okay. Good idea. You wouldn't know it. 1 or 2 days later, wouldn't you know it? 1 or 2 days later, my mom was back at home. Christmas break was over. I don't think I saw my dad again for a good 10 months or so after that. It's all a game. It's all a game. So once she couldn't get her supply out of the house, she had to come back to get it. It was all a game. I was an only child, so it was just me and my mom. And wait for it, her back problems. Oh, God, another one. They always have these mysterious fucking problems you can't actually see, but, you know. A classic from the Narc playbook. The chronic back ailment hustle. My whole childhood, if I wasn't being physically or verbally or physically abused, I was hearing how or why we couldn't do something or go somewhere because of my mom's back problems. She loved sitting in the handicapped seating section of the public bus and fighting off old ladies who questioned her right, as she appeared to be an able-bodied 30-something, for sitting in the designated handicapped elderly seats. What an asshole. Even more, she loved yelling at me to run and catch the bus. Tell the driver to wait for your mother. She's handicapped. Which, of course, I never wanted to do because my mom didn't appear to be handicapped at all. You know, fuck it. Fuck it. I got my meet Normus's sister, Adrian, and I've talked about this. She's the one who's basically the other one's fighting for control of my father's family. She's been pulling the handicap fucking thing for years. She used to do that. Hang a handicap placard in her fucking car. Oh, God. So she could parapark with all the handicap. Oh, and she was just nothing other than fat. That was it. So I understand. It's like, wow, you just triggered me. Thanks. But yeah, I mean, the fake handicap placards is a huge thing with narcs, and they're waiting to be challenged on it. Waiting to be challenged on it. Adrian loved to be fucking challenged on the goddamn thing. Oh, God. I forgot all about the handicap thing. Thank you. Another tactic. Put that in your grab bag. It was the 80s, so no World Wide Web internet available for accessing info like what we have on WebMD today. But that didn't stop my mom from somehow ordering some huge expensive 5-pound medical book and self-diagnosing herself with something called spondylitis. Spondylitis, I guess. I don't know. I have a medical background. Spondylitis. Something she took great glee in describing to anyone who would listen as a degenerative condition of the spine. Oh, God, that's right. Virginia had a big fucking medical book, too. And they always love to, like, tell you the disgusting things they're going through medically. It's just another control. It's control, it's attention, but it's just brutal to have to deal with. Hence why you end up, like, being alone. Anyway, no surprise that I could go on and fill a book, really. But I'll stop there. I was lucky to be born with a resilient spirit and personality. So I was able to get away from my mom, and I have accomplished things and gone places and done things. Pretty much the exact opposite of what my genius mother predicted would happen. When you have narc parents or family, no contact is the only way to go. Save yourself and get away as soon as you can. Thanks for reading, AJ. Okay, well, thank you for your story, AJ, and your contribution. You know, this is another example of story after story, and we can put all our different stories together and see that the tactics don't really change. The handicap placard, really, I forgot all about that. I forgot all about the handicap placards. And they are such a tool because that is such a narcissistic thing to do, to fake a handicap and then either park in a handicap spot, or sit in a handicap seat on the bus. And then these people, they hope They hope to be challenged, so then they could stand there and grandstand. And what AJ's mother is, or was, is a grandstanding type of narcissist. Always have to be the center of attention. Always have to, you know, there's always something. It never fucking ends. It never ends. The fake medical ailment narcissist, it never ends with them. Never, ever ends. But the one thing, AJ, I want you to get out of this, I want you to keep in mind, I want you to understand. Your mother didn't bring you back. It wasn't that the doctor stopped your mother from bringing you back to therapy. It was that your mother saw she was about to be exposed. And she wasn't going to have that happen in front of a third party like that. She wasn't going to have it. So that's why you never went back to therapy. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please leave your comments in the comments section below. If you want a video made of your own story, the PayPal link is in the description box. This is Ollie Matthews. See you all again soon. Take care, everybody.